let's get this meeting underway. I'll call the Historic District Commission to order. Take a look at the agenda. The first thing on the docket is approval of the draft minutes from March. I don't believe Michelle got anything in the office for changes or whatnot. Anybody have anything they needed to add, omit, revise?
No.
And if not, I'll take a motion to accept the minutes as
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on to new business. We'll start with Shaker Village, Erin.
File full today.
File.
Thank you very much. It's getting to be that season. So I think first on the agenda is the meeting house. And if you recall, the window restoration is in progress. That was reviewed and approved separately. So right now, we're talking about the upcoming structural repairs and then the rest of the exterior envelope. Preservation Timber Framing has been hired as the contractor. They will come out and do the undercarriage repairs. They'll lift the building, take out the portions of the sill that need to be replaced. One of the biggest problems, when the building was built in 1792, by 1805 the floor had failed, and so they removed the original floor and put in a second floor. And what we're learning now is that they just cut out the inside of the sill, so the outside 4 inches is the original sill, and then there's another member inside of that, and they're not connected. So part of the reason we have a bow in the north end is because those are not properly connected. So we'll be doing some parts replacement and some just sort of repair, reconnecting things. We're gonna use traditional connections wherever we can. There may be some situations where metal fasteners have to be used. They're gonna try to really keep that to a limit, and I don't really speak the language, and it would take me a minute to look it up, but if you have a question about that, I can tell you, if you ask the question, I might be able to tell you the answer about what kind of metal. It's one that's not going to react with other things, but I don't know. Anyway, we've talked through that kind of detail. So structural repairs will happen first, and then they'll start working on the exterior carpentry. There's some repair to the clapboards, trim. Again, the window sash are being done separately, but they'll take care of the window casings and sills. They'll take care of the railings and some other details that need to be done. And they will replace the roof. They're going to use a main white cedar. And they have a detail with the dwelling house. Those of you who were on the board then might remember, I wasn't here, but I have heard that figuring out how to detail the roof to strap up the cedar for ventilation or for airflow at the dormers was a challenge. And so on the south side, we did not do that. Preservation Timber Framing has developed a detail where they reverse shingles so that we can strap it, and then they'll just sort of taper it down so that there won't be a visual edge at those details. That's about all I can say about that right now. I don't have a drawing of that detail or anything, but it'll just make it so there's not the full height of the strapping at the edge and at the sills. Then the building will be painted. That's the nutshell. What questions do you have for me about that?
The fasteners to bring those silk pieces together, is that mostly an internal thing?
Entirely internal,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, so whether they use bar iron or something, or timber lock screws, it's not gonna be anything that you see from.
It was a detail that wasn't spelled out in the proposal, other than that they would use minimal metal, but when we met with Jim Garvin, I don't know if many of you know him, but he's a details guy, and so we talked through that kind of details, and again, I don't remember the specifics, but I remember that he was satisfied by the answer, whatever that was.
Well, I think that if there's integrity to the original sill and they think they can
Well, it'll be a lot of replacement on the north end. It'll be a lot of replacement, and also again, for the most part, because it was just kind of hacked out, the joints just weren't there. But putting in a new member, they can put in proper timber frame joints in most places. But there might be some connections where, we're not taking it all the way back, and they have to just attach old to new. And again, none of that will be visible. So I don't know technically if you have a review authority, but I know that the state, who also reviews, wanted to make sure that was happening first and correctly, so that they could then approve the exterior envelope work. So I just wanted to make sure you knew about it
I
as well.
appreciate that.
And it won't be dramatic, like it won't go up very high, but it'll be kind of exciting to have the meeting house up.
Levitating meeting
Yeah.
house. How about the steps? Will those be addressed, or as far as?
The thresholds are the steps stone? I know the railings will be. What, are you talking about the front steps?
Well, I was just curious if the steps were gonna be reset or,
Not that I'm aware of. That's not something we've talked about.
alright.
Is that on a different project that we were thinking of?
No, I was just curious if, while everything else was going on, if there was consideration to either the steps themselves being jigged a little bit, or how the drainage is working in that area.
We just removed the ferns today, and so I can talk to the gardeners and see if they have a better idea of what things look like in there, but we're not aware of any drainage problems. Part of it is there's no basement, and so we can't see what's happening. But again, it's been there a long time and things seem to be holding up okay. So I think we're again, it's not something we're planning on doing right now.
Okay.
It's always a possibility that there's a can of worms, and once it gets open,
It's an old
if that's the
building.
case, we'll come back.
It's an old building.
Yeah,
Any questions from the board?
No. I'm excited that that's being addressed, it's good, it's really nice.
I think it's gonna be a really exciting project. They're planning to start in May, which is soon, and be finished by October. So it's gonna be serious, and it'll be the team from Preservation Timber Framing, and then we're having a preservation internship program in partnership with that, so we'll have at least 2, maybe 3 interns living on site this summer also, working on that project. So it's gonna bring some really good energy to the village this summer, I think, and sort of shine up our gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any comments or questions from the public, or no butters here? Okay, well, I'll take a motion to accept the application as entered.
Second?
All approved? Aye.
Aye.
No nays? Okay,
Great.
meeting house underway.
So anybody need to take a breath, or should we just keep going?
You wanna keep going?
Sure.
Let's keep
If
going.
you don't mind, let's
East
just
house.
power through. So the East House is a similar scope in that it has structural repairs that need to happen first. The contractor on this is Oliver Fifield. He will similarly be lifting the building. This building, because it was moved, has a double sill on 3 sides. Both of them are bad. Not all the way around, but in parts, both of those sills will be replaced. In other areas, it'll only be replaced where needed. The backside just has a single sill and it's in best shape.
Erin, could I interrupt you a second?
Of course.
What do you mean double sill, is it too high?
It's
Two
too
sills.
deep, so they're
Too deep.
side by side, and in talking to Preservation Timber Framing about it when they were there looking at it, they think it's because it was moved, so they basically had the the foundation built and had a platform to receive it, but then also had it on, timbers to move it in. And so you'll notice that the back stone foundation, the top course is different, and so that's where they pulled out, I think, the carriers and set it in. So it was interesting to look at it, I didn't know what I was seeing. I thought there was a double sill, and I thought it was strange, but his guess is that that's just because that's how they moved it.
Yeah.
And so, but again, from over time, and I don't necessarily know the reason, because it's on all 3 sides that those have deteriorated. So there'll be the structural work there, Pro Point, restoration will come in and do the masonry work, they're gonna rebuild, stone part of the foundation is in good shape. They'll rebuild the brick foundation, part of it right now is collapsing, anyone who's been over there recently can see that it's not doing the work, right now, the timber frame is doing the work. And then they'll proceed, same thing, clapboard repairs, they'll do, window trim and sills as needed. Both of the door surrounds and doors need some work, the thresholds. And then they'll paint the building. At the same time, I forget who the window contractor is, Alden Witham, I forget what the name of his company is. Old Sash Restorers or something. They'll take the windows, there are existing triple track aluminum storms, those will come off. The windows will be preserved. In this case, because it is a heated and occupied building, we do propose to weather strip the windows. So they'll put a Z channel on both sides. There'll be a rubber bulb at the bottom, and then a brush on the back of the bottom sash. The top sash we plan to fix in place. Right now, they have the same hardware as the meeting house windows, which makes them all lean to the left. And so we're gonna fix those in place and just make the bottom sash operable. And then we'll have wood storm windows made that will have a fixed storms panel and then interchangeable storm and screen panels at the bottom. Those will fit inside, they'll go on the exterior, but they'll fit inside the jams instead of on the surface. So that will help weatherize the building, and I think, everybody has opinions, improve the appearance of it than over the triple track storms.
Yeah.
I think that's everything on that one. The roof, the roof will also be done. That one we're going to use the same yellow, Alaskan yellow cedar that we've been using on the other buildings. Chimneys will be repointed. Oh, I totally did forget. New gutters and downspouts. This is a thing that I think we should talk about if you have strong feelings. We currently have a white K-style gutter on one side and a half round on the other side. I don't have strong feelings about it, and frankly, I don't even know what is in the proposal. The estimate was a little unclear. I know it's bronze, we're not planning to go copper on this building, but we're also not planning to go white. We could go white. But anyway, that's one thing that I think we should talk about, because it's right now different on each side of the building. I'd rather just pick one and do it, and I don't know, but I don't have strong feelings.
Is there any photography from earlier systems that kind of point either one over the other, or?
No, in the photos that I've seen, and I did not bring the historic building assessment, when there were gutters, maybe I did bring the historic building assessment. They seemed, there's the mortar. Guess I brought the whole folder. There's a variety. I don't think we have a real precedent for what was there. I mean, I think of half round as being more traditional, but you're looking at a white, it's not a crown mold, but I mean, that's what K-style was designed for, is this white soffit.
Yeah.
So, I think it could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, gutters they're not historical to significant
It's like signs,
anyways,
people are like,
so-
what would I do for a historic sign? It's like, well, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't,
Gutters are the
right?
same way.
But yeah, so, I don't think I have an opinion of it. I mean, it'd be nice if they were both the same, whatever that is.
Okay, does anybody else have feelings about
Anybody-
the preference?
No preference. Although, in the picture, it looks like the downspout is, like you say, bronze. Yeah. It seems to be less evident if it was white.
I think, Okay, and you think the same for the gutters? I think because the building is painted white, the downspouts would disappear better if they were
Is the
white.
building gonna stay white?
At this point, that's our plan, yes. Do you wanna talk about that?
No, cause we have no say.
We have no
Okay.
say in that, yeah.
If I change my mind, should I come back? I don't wanna get off track because there are other people waiting, but I had a good conversation with a linseed oil paint company that I'm really excited to work with going forward. But we'd have to go bare wood, and this project, we're not planning to go bare wood. This is not the one that we're gonna
Yeah.
try that, so.
No, it's one thing that both districts, there's no control over color.
Okay.
It would be a personal thing to
Yeah,
show how colorful the village was at
I know.
different periods, and if you're picking a period to represent that house, be curious to know what
Okay.
that color would be, but it's my understanding it's only the meeting house that was ever truly just.
I know, it should be only the meeting house that's white, so.
But that's not.
Kyle and I were just talking about that
I
today.
guess my opinion is that the gutter and the downspout would be the same color as the house, as the building.
So both should go white?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about half round versus K-style?
I don't really care.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a modern, either way, it's a modern
Yeah.
aperture
okay.
thing, so, there's no,
So it's
Right
okay
or
if I clarify, do I need to let you know when I clarify? This, we have, the HDC, we have the state easement has not reviewed this yet, and LCHIP also has to review this. So somebody might care, so it's kind of great if you don't
yeah,
care, I could just let
I
you
think
know
we
if
should
someone
say we
else
don't.
cares.
I'd say that we would prefer that it be
The same on
the
both
same on both
Okay,
sides.
yep,
And that a color be not draw the attention, obviously,
Yeah,
of,
blend-
and so
blend
white
in.
would be fine.
Yeah, blend
Okay.
in, go.
beyond
Okay.
that,
Okay.
it's a necessary evil, and it's a modern thing, so it
Okay.
is what it is, yeah.
I appreciate that, I will let LCHIP and the DHR, see if they have opinions, and if not, then I
If
get
neither
to
one of
make up my
them's-
own mind.
Yeah, if neither one of them has a choice either, then you're in trouble, then you have to flip the coin.
Yeah, or compare costs, sometimes we do that too. Okay,
Any
other questions about the east house? So the east house, I will say, this is outside, I think, of specifically what you'll review, but it's looking like we're going to have enough money to do some interior and systems work as well. I'm holding off just to make sure there aren't any surprises, cause again, this is another can of worms. But we need to do things like replace our water line to that building within the next 8 years, and other things. So there might be work that, would that come back to you if we have to disturb the ground? It's already been disturbed because there's already a water line?
Yeah, I think if the utilities that are going to the building are the same,
For just replacing what's
Right.
there, okay,
I think it would be different if, there's no, let's say there's no dryer in the building and you wanna put a dryer duct out.
okay,
That would be a different, a new kind of thing, and I think anything on the exterior, you'd wanna come back,
okay.
but, just to repair things.
I'm not anticipating anything, but I'll keep that in mind. Like if we were trying to go with the fire alarm system, we're trying to go to a cellular dialer, does that require something on the outside? I don't think so, but I'll let you know if
Yeah,
it does.
I think anything exterior, obviously,
Yeah.
anything that's for the village's safety and benefit, it's no different than allowing solar panels, I mean, it's a
Yeah,
modern thing that we
yeah, but
deal
it's
with.
still, we'll still come through
Right,
with
but,
it.
yeah, it'd be nice to know.
Okay, that'll be next year, cause again, we'll get this part done, make sure we have a little, see how our budget is doing, and then decide what else we can do. Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Okay, so that leaves the Brethren shop.
So, I'm sorry.
We have to vote on
this.
it.
Oh, I'm
Official.
sorry, moving along too fast. So no other discussion about it, I'll take a motion
Make a motion to accept it as presented,
as presented.
with those conditions that
Come back with,
I'll second it.
Second there, all in favor, aye,
I,
opposed, none,
great.
approved.
Well, with those two behind us, this one's gonna seem easy. The Brethren shop, again, we did the roof before and we did the portico before. right now, we're just refreshing the restrooms in the basement. Which the contractor who has been in there said he thought it was done in the late fifties, like I think it was museum original, he said, based on the style of the concrete block. But anyway, we're replacing the exterior door, it's currently a metal door with wire glass, in a sized down opening. We're going to a wood paneled, 36-inch door that is accessible. It will open out instead of in. And it will be nicer. Details have been a little bit up in the air in terms of like the contractor yesterday was like, oh, wouldn't they now, they have a temporary door in there now? Because we can't do the floors until we got the door frame in, so they got the door frame in. And so we have a temporary door, and as they were looking at it up close, they said, oh, we should add a bead here, and so they're still like hashing out some of the trim details, but they're just, basically what they're gonna try to do is match it to the other doors on the building. And so I'm afraid that the sketch that I included doesn't include the jamb, basically. And so there's a, like I like yesterday they're like, well, could we put a bead on the jamb, it would look better, it would look, so. I don't know.
We'll have the detail on the bottom half.
It's gonna have the two recessed panels, but with a simple bead, again, it's gonna match what's around.
Like,
Not like a multi.
kinda like what the north side entrance, is that a 6-panel?
Can't remember if it's more like the north or the south. We looked at the other doors on the building and they're different, every door around is different.
Yeah,
But we're going for that vibe.
again, this is a modern,
It's a modern door,
it's a modern door in a modern situation, and if it can reference something on the building so that it.
But not be fake, like
Not
we're
be fake.
trying to not make it, we don't wanna confuse people, it's a modern door.
I think the glass will do that.
I think so too.
You said it's accessible, what does that mean?
So it's gonna be wider, it's gonna be 36 inches wide, which is technically what's required for ADA. This is an existing bathroom and we can't make it entirely handicap accessible to code, but we've made a few improvements that make it better. The men's room is now going to be fully accessible with this door and the men's room. The women's room, because of the configuration, we still can't technically get, like, we had to make the sink smaller, it's closer, but it's still not technically ADA. But anyway, that's what we're trying, the door, part of the reason we wanted to go with a slightly larger door is to improve the accessibility.
Okay. Any questions? No? Hearing none, motion to approve,
I move that we vote to approve the as written.
as written. Any second? Somebody, please? Ann will do it again. Alright, all in favor, accept as written,
Aye.
Opposed, none,
Great, thank you.
all set. Very good, lots going on.
I know, it's gonna be a great.
How's the privy coming?
It has a what?
The privy,
Oh, it's good, we're just waiting for the next high school career exploration. So it still sits in the horse barn, waiting for the students to come back.
Oh,
that's a cool project.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, and the bee house still is just kind of waiting for Todd to have time.
Alright, well, thank you, Erin,
Alright, thank you.
appreciate it. That will move us to number 2, Baptist Road. Rockland Roofing and Windows. So Vanessa recuses herself, as she is the applicant. So I'll ask the board if they'll have Jesse be a voting member in this decision.
Yep.
Yeah, alright, I think that needs a vote, but, good, alright. You wanna give us a rundown on what the project is?
We're doing roof, yes, the barn roof, barn looks to be built about 1880s, something like that. The roof, I managed to find a note scrawled on the inside of the barn that dates the roof to 1993. Even mentions it being a 30-year roof. So it's due for repair. It is leaking from the ridge currently. They're having some temporary repairs done. When exactly, I can't say for sure. Not terribly long ago, within the last 10 years, is the estimate that I've been told. So we propose to put a metal roof on, galvalume, a galvanized roof. It would be standing seam, not ridged. It would be a full repair as well. I don't have a great deal more of detail. My roof contractor was supposed to join us, and unfortunately, I can't get a hold of him. So we might be back to square one, I'm not sure. But galvalume seems to be obtainable and cut to size on site. Once the exact measurements have been taken of the roof and what's necessary, and then fitting seems to be a very straightforward process of bending it all into the correct shapes.
Okay.
You said it's a full repair?
Yes, as
I don't know.
opposed to, I mean,
Not sure what you mean by that.
as in no patching, but I don't see how you could patch something with galvalume versus the shingle that's already there. It's what was written in the description by the
Proposal.
contractor.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I'm quoting as opposed to
Okay.
coming from a place of knowledge on that.
Okay.
Was there a discussion about standing seam versus not
Ribbed.
ribbed?
The yes, there was the rafters, the
Yep.
are not even, and so there was some discussion with regard to how it would standing seam would lie along those rafters. In the end, though, it said really it's up to us as far as what we prefer aesthetically, in that they were in good condition and there wasn't a definite reason to go for something
The ribbed?
the ribbed variety, yes, yeah, that wasn't essential, they felt, so they want standing seam.
And then the windows are also part of this application?
There are two separate applications, they do happen to be on the same line in this agenda. Gosh, it feels like it's been so long ago that I did that one, so they are being stripped with linseed stripper, they are being reglazed. The lights within them, none need repair, some are beautiful and wavy and in very good condition. The transoms are tricky to remove. There's a metal rod on the north side of the barn that means that there may need to be some scaffolding put up to remove that very large transom on the north side. The south side is not an issue. But no need to repair, as I say, any of the lights. They'll be painted exactly the same white. They will be returned to, those that were functional and nailed shut will become functional again.
Okay.
No hardware is being added, there was no hardware evident previously.
Alright. Any questions? No? Quiet evening. So it's really just a sash replacement and
Yes,
And
not
paint and
the
scrape
front.
the trim and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What is this picture of that?
Those are of the house.
Okay.
So this does
Right.
include
It's
the
different
house,
stuff.
which is probably a critical element to mention. So yes, so the barn was where the works would start, has started, and The house itself, though, those windows date from about 1973. They are timber frame windows, therefore I'm interested in retaining them as opposed to replacing. Similar situation with, so we'll retain the glazing, or the glass, sorry, that's the wrong term. The lights will remain repaired to one on the south side, just happens to be a broken piece of glass. Hardware will remain the same. For the time being, the storm windows will remain, but I'm looking to remove those. I haven't found anyone to replace the external storm windows for something internal yet, but I have some excellent ideas. Yes, to remove those would be the eventual goal, but that wouldn't happen at this point.
Okay. But it's basically sash restoration.
Sash restoration, yes,
Yeah,
same
not
thing.
replacing anything.
Yes.
There aren't any other questions? Any comments from the public? Okay, well, I'll make a motion then to accept both the barn roof and window restoration along with the house window restoration as applied for.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Alright. Thanks, Vanessa.
Vanessa, why did you give us this?
This has allegedly an idea,
Like a cut sheet.
it's a cut sheet, yes, basically, so the pre-weathered Calhoun was what
Oh,
was
okay,
selected,
okay.
yeah, in case anyone wanted to have a little look at that.
Okay, moving right along, 40 Kimball Pond Road. Sam,
Gonna give you that for the record.
why don't I read this out loud, just so
Yeah.
everybody, to the Historic District Commission of the town of Canterbury. I was a resident of Canterbury for 46 years and lived at 40 Kimball Pond Road with my wife Sarah until she died in 2025. We were responsible for having the historic district boundaries redrawn to include our house. I served the town on the planning board, historic society as trustee, and a member of the board of corporators of Shaker Village, and as a member of this historic district commission. The large and old rock maple on the northerly side of the house suffered major damage in a Thanksgiving Day storm in 2011. One of the leaders fell, damaging the house and rear yards. The second leader was removed a few years later because of the danger it posed. A third leader went down in another windstorm. It fortunately fell in an easterly direction and did little damage to the property. The remaining tree is aesthetically not pleasing to the eye. It has lost half or more of its volume. It will inevitably fall and could do serious damage to the septic system, which is in close proximity to its western flank, so it's facing the road. I considered taking the tree down before the historic district boundary change, but deferred to doing so because of the exigencies of Sarah's physical condition. I believe the tree should be removed and fully endorse Sam Papp's application to do so. Best regards, Barry S. Kinter. So, this is, if you got your, this was an application that came in later, and I agreed to hear it mainly because of the condition of that maple. Having looked at it myself, knowing the history of it, it is certainly at the end of its lifespan, but it does pose a danger. There are two sections of it where those previous leaders were taken out that have been open to the elements all these years. And so the rot that's occurred on the inside of it is pretty substantial. Obviously, like to save any tree of that age if it's possible, but as a personal having looked at it, I think the safety of the house and obviously the person who lives in it is much more important and paramount to it. I think it's lived a good life, and I personally, as a board member, don't see a reason to hold it up. I know it's an issue where things are moving forward there, and so time was of the essence, so there was a question, Sam had asked whether we could do a public waiver of the, so that it wasn't bumped to another month. And there are 3 criteria to do that, but one of which is in the public view, and the trees are pretty much out there to be seen. So I would ask the board, not feeling comfortable as one person with the select board member in granting that waiver, I would ask the board what your pleasure was. And if we could move forward on this application so that we can get the safety issue taken care of. There are some other trees involved, which I think we can speak to, but I kinda wanna get that waiver issue
Yeah,
kinda done.
if we were voting on that, I would say.
Yeah,
I'm
I
in favor
think
of
this
that.
is a question I thought it was fair that all of you should have some input into it.
Take it down.
Well, as far as waiving the public hearing portion of it.
Oh, yeah.
So that,
Right.
you know, putting it off another 30 days with the public notice and everything. Any thoughts, anybody against that?
No.
If not, then I'll have you and I sign off on the public waiver. And so we can hear this, and it's basically like anything, when you're there doing the work, there's other things that need doing, and so there are 6 large bull pines out back on the hillside that easily could come to the house. And then there's a couple of poplar, a maple, another poplar out front that again, very little has been done to that landscape over the years as far as those large trees, and they've literally enveloped the house in places. And so Sam wants to take care of that all at once while Brian Magoon will be doing the work. You wanna, actually, your narrative,
Well,
so
that's
you
the
should
thing, I think that
speak
the
to it.
application speaks for itself,
Yeah.
that while we're taking down the maple tree, we're going to have a crane there already. So taking down the bull pines that could potentially fall onto the house, is gonna happen at the same time.
Yeah, it's not a project that you could do without the crane there.
Correct.
And so, can understand wanting to do it all at once and be done with it, for sure. And those pines are notorious for being hollow at certain points in their life, and those 6 at least meet, in my estimation, that stage.
Well, I move that we accept the proposal.
Okay. I just ask the public, any comment or? Yes, sir.
Jeff Leidinger, as a former member of this group and a resident of Canterbury and someone who's pretty knowledgeable about Sam's property, I think that his application speaks in the spirit and the purpose of the ordinance, and I would recommend that you approve it.
Thank you, Jeff. Anybody else? Okay, so we have
Now
a
I make a motion.
motion
Accept it.
and a second.
Second.
Second, Vanessa, all in favor? Aye.
Alright.
Anyone opposed? None? Alright,
Sorry, I didn't see who seconded.
Vanessa.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
We got back-to-back meeting nights.
And I hadn't seen this, but Brian actually submitted
I read that.
it's about,
That was in the
okay.
proposal.
Good, alright, well, thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And now we have a conceptual, meeting. Yes, conceptual plan, a conceptual, let's chat about it. I like these, I like when people come in first.
familiar, Ted?
I didn't do it, I don't know why you're asking me that. I've
Well,
seen
I
it,
got to go
David Graham
first,
said you
but
did
I
it.
didn't expect you to.
no. At least I don't remember doing it, maybe I didn't.
Wait, no, somebody told us that you, these applications are tremendous.
Huh?
Take the credit.
Somebody told us that they,
Mine was full, I got to do better.
Okay, I am Jim Soika. I am here to represent the church today. Denise and I have been attending church for, I don't know, 15, could be 20 years now at this point. And this is what the church looks like at present with the steps. And over the years, we've seen several parishioners end up in wheelchairs or having to use crutches or a walker. And we have an aluminum ramp that I believe it stretches out to 10 foot wide and it's very bouncy. And it suffices. I think we meet the ADA requirements with that, but I have tripped on it, I have seen other people trip on it, and it doesn't look very inviting, if it's out there. It's just not conducive to, allowing everybody have access to that building, with ease. So what Denise and I would like to do, for the church, it's going to be our gift to the church, if you will. We would like to have a platform installed that would rest on the first step. And that would be this. The front step, the top step is 8 foot 7 inches wide. And to get a good platform that would allow for continued accessibility on all three sides, you need to have basically a square, if you will. That platform that we propose to put in there would come out 7 feet, and there would have to be a joint in the middle, unfortunately. I have gotten a quote from Swenson Granite, and they would not want to cut a piece of granite that large. I don't know that 7 foot dimension is something that they can handle at this point on their trucks. This platform would obviously raise the elevation as it appears from the street, and this picture that you have is not, it's not very conducive to seeing what that elevation would be, but the green lines would represent a feathering, if you will, of fill as well as loam and reseeding, so that the entire presentation would slope away at a 12 inch for each 1 inch drop, which is the ADA requirement. And if these two 6-inch steps are at the right grade, then we would have to fill in approximately 12 feet out from the top step. However, on the left-hand side, if you're out there at the street looking at it, the walkway actually comes down, and I think it does so a little bit to the right also. So my thinking is it might end up being only about 10 feet. There is the potential for a pool of water out there. I have not seen it after a rainstorm because it is fairly sandy soil. But I think this would be a great improvement for accessibility. It would be inviting. And at the present time, people do congregate as they leave the church. And having that aluminum ramp out there at the same time, people have backed into it, almost fallen. As I said, I tripped on it, and in some spots you have the potential for rolling an ankle depending on where you step. So questions from anybody?
Have you, if you were facing the church from the street,
Yes.
that left side, that sidewalk does taper.
It comes down
Yeah,
to the steps. It comes up by the high spot is by the maple tree
okay.
or ash tree.
Doesn't it, it seems to me like it goes downhill towards the maple tree and then turns.
It does, but as you make the corner, Ted, it actually drops down a couple of inches
Yeah.
towards the
so-
front
So
step.
can you get that grade out there?
I think we can. That side will actually have less of a grade to get to the top of the platform.
Okay,
Go
go ahead.
To that point, I wondered, you're considering redoing the asphalt walkways?
That's another thing.
Some of them, one of them,
We're
none of
getting,
them?
we're getting quotes, so this is, again, this is a conceptual meeting, I don't
Yeah.
want your
Oh, no,
approval
it-
tonight.
Nope, and we can't give it?
If you like it, then I'll come back next month with an application. And I don't know if we will have an application for the walkways, but, the walkways are broken up and I think the septic project really did a number on the access to the parish house. But, those walkways are below grade in many spots and it's very difficult to keep them clear in the winter. So, we're getting quotes to cap as well as to take out the existing walkway and bring in some gravel, some ledge pack, and then have the walkways elevated a little bit, probably a couple of inches. And then probably feather it in with a little bit of loam on the edges so that they don't break off.
The reason I brought that up is in considering that westerly ramp, perhaps if you're not tied to the existing asphalt right now, that it can start to curve and maybe maintain elevation, a lighter slope as it comes around and then heads down to the parking
A
lot.
more gentle slope than
Right,
the,
yeah.
12,
Yeah,
112.
than if you had to stick with what's currently there coming straight out.
Right,
You know, so there may be some room there to even to play with, because for the most part, you're heading down towards the parking lot.
right, and I don't know what
Going
that
down.
slope is like, I don't know if that's ADA compliant.
Yeah. Well,
Since this is conceptual, I'll just throw this out, that if you don't have the slope, you could have steps on one side, on that particular side.
Right,
You
and
see?
and we thought about that, but here's the thing, so we've got people that pull up and get out of a vehicle and their aide or their helper gets them in through the front way, and we've got people that have been coming up this way. And then we need the access to get to the parish house. So you almost feel like you need to have that ramp
On every side,
on every side.
yeah.
Else somebody's gonna just go out over the dirt and then go down.
Yeah, how wide are the walkways? Or how,
In some spots, Ted, I think the walkway between the church and the lamppost, it's maybe 24, 30 inches.
yeah,
And I don't know what the required width is, I think it could be 36 inches.
36 at least.
36.
40
Yeah,
is more comfortable.
and it seems like if those are gonna be elevated, then you're gonna be, you wanna be wider than narrower.
Right, right,
Because there needs to be plenty of room for people to pass. A scenario of maybe like 2 wheelchairs passing, right?
yeah, but I don't know that would look good out there, having it really wide.
But
Well, I don't want, I'm just thinking you don't want people to step off to the side, you know,
Right.
so that somebody else can pass.
a normal single person walk would be 32 to 40 inches wide. But if you're looking for 2 abreast, which given the demographics of, you
Yeah,
know,
if there's,
this
if there's
entrance,
like,
you know,
church service,
you
a
would
funeral.
want a comfortable 2-person width, so.
Which is like 48 inches.
48 inches, really, yeah. Now,
How does the commission feel about that, though? I mean, that takes up a lot of
that's
visual.
it's a lot of visual, it's a lot of, and it's extra cost, obviously. But again, this is all conceptual, so, you know, if you think about where the handicap parking is and that one main walkway, or if it's the 2 sides and not the front one, maybe the front one can remain at the slenderer, that might help. Certainly aesthetically it would, because you don't, as you're driving, you don't have that same perspective. But to look at a 4 foot wide runway coming off the church, I agree, was probably not, aesthetically pleasing.
Well, for what it's worth, Google just told me that ADA compliance walkways must have a minimum of 36 inches.
Yeah.
And if the walkway is less than 60 inches, you have to have a 60 by 60 passing zone every 200 feet. So like a turning lane. But if you don't have a 200-foot run,
We don't have
36
200 feet.
then 36
So-
inches is fine
So the turnoff is good.
to meet compliance.
But again, that's something to think about, you remain with a narrow front. Because I'm guessing most handicap folks are parking either closest in the store parking area or down here, right? And getting
So-
assisted out, but
We've had some want to park near the store, but there's a granite curb
Yeah,
right
I
there.
was gonna bring that up, yeah.
And I don't know that the town wants that picked up.
They just put it in, didn't
No,
No,
It's been there
no,
for
it's
a
been there
while.
forever. I would,
the outside, yeah.
I would suggest that you consider removing that,
Okay,
asking to remove it. Because, just for that reason, the accessibility.
right, right,
And for the parish house, for that matter. The parish house, I'm not sure again with the slope, but it's a much better slope than the slope coming down off the back parking lot.
right,
So if you're gonna argue that we're making this accessible to people, using that long, although it's longer, it may be more gentle. But the problem, as you're saying, is you got that curb sitting right there.
right,
And
right.
I would argue that that should not be there. It's gonna take a little work, but.
I think there has been a comment that will stay. I don't know what the background
Yeah.
is.
Well,
I gotta ask myself.
Yeah.
So getting back to this, I've got some rudimentary, pieces of wood here, that are indicative of something else being applied. I think what we need is a couple pieces of granite curbing, in front of the church to hold up the slope a little bit. And there'll probably be a couple of granite blocks that sit on the bottom step, because there will be some dirt possibly there.
Are you talking about, between the ramp and the building?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so one side of the ramp would have curbing, essentially,
right.
granite curbing.
And it might not be asphalt, depending on, cause there's 7 feet that we're adding there. So I don't know where the sidewalk will end up being. I think the sidewalk will probably tend to be pushed out a little
Yeah.
bit further, Ted.
Yeah.
So that granite will be there, as a buffer between the building and this elevation, and there'll probably be a strip of grass, a
Yeah.
foot or two.
Well, I mean, from my view, we'd prefer it to be granite,
Yeah.
a granite curb and
Yeah,
not asphalt.
well, yeah, I think by the regs, it would have to be some sort of stone,
right,
and brick doesn't make sense. Could use field granite, I suppose, but yeah. Although, you're gonna wanna have enough slope, so between the ramp and the church foundation itself, as long as there's a slope there that water can drain,
Right,
right,
it's really about feathering it around where those vestibules are.
right. It could be a piece of 4 foot granite, it could be 6 foot. I hope it's not 8 foot, but,
well,
I don't
if you look at the right-hand side, the eastern ramp, that's now gonna be higher than grade.
right,
And the grade wants to go towards the street, so you're creating some sort of a blockage there.
right,
So the grade, the removing the water from that area is gonna have to be paid attention to.
right. There'll have to be a little bit of slope.
Yeah.
Behind it, away from the steps.
Yeah.
At an angle
Or
too.
culvert underneath,
Well, problem with culverts is they collect leaves and then they
Yeah.
don't drain and then
Then they block up.
somebody's gotta take care of it, but, yeah, I
It's
think.
pretty
if-
sandy there, though.
If you could create almost like a little well that still had slope to the side, so that it sloped this way, right? You're gonna try to maintain 8 inches of foundation reveal. So there's gonna be a step off, you might face that with granite underneath the platform.
Mhm.
But then you can build up to whatever you feel you need to keep for underneath that first clap, the sill,
Right,
and try to shunt the water to the east.
right, and the whole platform itself will probably slope, I'm thinking maybe half an inch.
1/4 inch is plenty.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Something to keep the water flowing away.
Yeah.
And then, as far as the granite is concerned, it's probably going to have to be a 4 inch thick piece of granite. Can't be 6 inch because that step right in the front is 5 3/4 inches.
Yeah.
And on the right-hand side and the left-hand side, it's 6 inches.
Yeah.
Is
So
that,
there's gonna have to be a happy medium going across there too.
is that a monolithic pour? Is that all one piece?
The foundation is monolithic, and as best as I can determine, that step has both steps have never moved, so I think it's part of the original pour.
Yeah.
And the trim work is right into the granite on the front. It doesn't show any rot, but there's no separation between the steps and the foundation, so it was either poured at the same time or there's rebar holding it in there.
One concern I would have is that with 4 inch, that's kind of thin. And where it's sitting on the top step, but then when you move forward, you've got that 6 inch drop to the second step. And then you've got another drop.
Fill it in with.
Well, what I'm saying is that's a tricky thing to have two different compactions that are really gonna stay
Right, so
in support of that top.
the front of the piece here, I'm thinking that we need to have at least a 4 inch mantle underneath that, 8 foot. So that the two pieces in the front are laying on the same plane.
Right.
With something supporting it
Yeah,
underneath, and I
yeah,
think that mitigates that concern. And then you just compact that soil
Should
in
be built,
between.
it should be built like a step in that it would have dead men sides and across the front and probably internally too, and then you fill that and pack it. But to rely on just packing it, you're gonna have with 4 inches, the possibility that it's gonna crack.
If they're custom cutting this, right, they're custom cutting it for you, right?
Yeah,
And what did they say, 4 and 6
they
inches?
said 4 inches is fine for that.
If it was all sitting on one thing, yeah,
Yeah,
I would just worry that if you were just gonna fill that, let's say with hard pack, and then set it, so the back of it's sitting on concrete, the next part's sitting on 6 inches of compacted ledge
Right,
pack, and the next
right.
one's on 12 inches. There's a lot of movement, no matter how well you settle it, but
I think you get that even with blocks in the ground too, because you're gonna get that frost.
Yeah, I would think so.
yeah, but at least over that, whatever that, is that a foot wide, that lower step?
That lower step is probably, it's more than 12 inches.
It is.
So there'll have to be,
So you'll have more than half of it sitting on,
there's gonna have to be feathers, and there'll probably have to be bits of lead sheeting that shims. At least that's what they did when they set our portico steps.
yeah. Well, that can all be worked out, I'm just thinking of the feathering of the grade coming up to it, and the fact that, it may be that if you're using granite dead men there, that also keeps the loam and the hard pack separate, so that as the loam deteriorates, because it's organic, it doesn't open up and allow the hard pack to start falling forward.
Right.
and then you lose your integrity of this downward pressure, but that can all be worked out.
Yeah,
When I was in the Sam Lake House, office, I was noticing the ramp that's there. I don't know if you have measured that, but
no,
it's nice and wide. It seems, I didn't measure, and I'm guessing it's like 4 feet, 4 feet wide, something like
Right,
that. But
right.
it seems like, just the feel of it seemed like it was easy for two people to pass.
you know, I've been over it so many times, I don't even remember looking
Yeah.
at it.
And I took a picture from the top of it, and as you look down, there are stones and then grass growing up on each side, and it looks quite attractive, I thought. So maybe you can break up some of the landscaping like that, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be expensive, you know, if you plant grasses or flower, you know, daffodils or something like that.
I'm sure the flower committee will have ideas, those two granite blocks will probably end up with some plantings on them. Could probably do the same thing in the front too, on the front edges.
I think, I love the concept, I think it's great, and I think if you can work out that slope, I haven't heard much over here, I hope you guys chime right on in. But I think the width is something to consider, and but you have to.
The width of the walkway?
Of the walkways.
Okay.
But knowing that they are there for accessibility, and you don't have to be in a wheelchair, you can be just not steady on your feet and you want somebody next to you. And therefore you need the width for two people
Yeah.
to go.
Plus the
Yeah.
fact that sometimes the walkways aren't plowed or shuffled as wide as the actual walkways are.
Yeah,
And I think that's because they're lower than the grass, and that's what makes it difficult.
that makes it harder too, yeah. So maybe it's those side ones that are the wider ones, and you know, the front one is, you know, kind of the one that has the most visual impact from the most angles, so to speak. But, yeah. I think what do you folks think?
Yeah, the way that the snow melts and gets very icy on the east side is really, really tricky.
It really
Seen
is.
people tumble a few times this year and coming up this way, and I think the idea of not having curbing, but I'm not sure whether that is allowed, would really benefit the people that I know of who use that walkway, who are most inclined to want someone to walk beside and so forth. I think it makes a lot of sense to do that way, but yeah, getting the water away from these is quite important, and also widening this one too, as it's the route to the parish house is
Yeah.
quite a job,
It
but a
is,
great idea.
it is low,
Yeah.
when you talk about the east side and that walk that goes past the sign and
Right.
behind that is the low point.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes it perks fine, and sometimes you could almost skate on it. And so, yeah, that's gotta be taken into consideration for that whole walk, for that matter, is how is that allowed to drain?
I'm wondering if it drains towards the back.
I think,
Probably not.
I don't think
It's
so.
not much, no, it's not much if at all.
No,
Yeah.
no.
I would suggest maybe that at some point, maybe talk with the LLC too, because we've got a drainage project that's gotta be finished.
We've gotta be
Yeah.
creative with that too,
And-
because this past winter, when that parking lot was plowed, the snow almost blocked the walkway.
Yeah, I'm not sure, other than the fact that we had regular snowstorms this year,
Yeah,
and maybe you just didn't notice it over these couple last years. I don't recall that much snow being pushed into that area, and that is a problem, obviously, to get.
well, it was pushed into the area where the new auxiliary walkway is, if it was to be made straight, so that it's
You're talking about back.
right.
Okay, I was talking out front.
Oh, no, I was thinking you were talking out
I'm
back.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
No, but the issue of this east walk and where it meets the walk down from the parish house, to allow the moisture behind that to continue to flow either into the parking lot or continue on through the lawn, that's gonna be the tricky part.
Right,
One thing that may help is that if it has an exit out into where the current curbing is, if it can evacuate prior to the walk, that may be
Yeah.
something to consider. But if they're gonna plow snow into that area, that creates a problem. And that's what I noticed this year. It was encroaching almost to the point where the walkway was.
Yeah, you couldn't get to it,
Yeah.
we came across several times, we came around to this.
right, and then
this
Stephen
center
Buchanan
lot.
Parker took a header there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so, and then, yes, I'm sure the LLC would be happy to talk about the back in more
Right,
depth too, because,
We're good for now though, right?
but yeah, as far as this front project, and anybody sees any glaring things, I would say,
so the time, as far as timing is concerned, there's a 6 to 8 week lead period from order to manufacture and delivery. I may order it, but I don't think we're going to get it done before the fair at this point. I just don't see how it can be done before the fair.
Yeah.
It's just, if we were to do that, we'd want the grass growing and we'd want that slope
yeah,
handled, because there's gonna be people coming up.
foot traffic on that.
There's just too much
stuff would
traffic.
be- Yeah.
Uh, just a side comment is you get the surface of this granite is thermal, right?
Thermal, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's included with your price.
right. Yeah, no, we don't want that slick.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you know the material and you get some drawing, I would encourage you to apply because the
It's gonna take
the
time,
approval is good for a year, so you can do it whenever, but
Right.
knowing that it's done and out of the way. You know,
I'll be back next month,
Okay,
and hopefully with the sidewalks, but I'm not certain.
Yeah.
So this would probably be a temporary patch. Maybe it might even be just gravel up to the edge of the granite until we decide how that
the
asphalt
rest of
is
it
to be
goes, yeah.
resolved,
Yep,
so,
yeah,
Okay.
like you said, you have a window there, so you just wanna know that you can move forward after the fair,
right,
whenever the granite's ready.
right.
all right, thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time,
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. Sorry about assuming that you did that, but
David Lamb
Dave was-
told us you did it.
he was
He's
certain.
lying.
Do you know who did?
Faith was going to put some money into the church to expand it. And so she had a younger guy who was studying to be an architect, and I forget his name, I never really stuck in my head, but anyway.
Cause that's like 20 years ago now.
Yep. And I remember that he had a nice model of the church.
Well, the rest of it, the addition is in the sanctuary, not this, yes, the chapel room downstairs in the parish house.
Yeah, the addition,
Yeah.
the proposed addition
Yeah.
that Faith was, that's who did it.
Yeah, he had some pieces that were gonna go in the corner here like this, and it was
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
quite elaborate, but.
Well, you can tell David I appreciate the,
Well, thank you so much for your time,
Sure, well, thanks for coming in.
absolutely.
So,
I think we're the last ones.
that leaves us with, other business. And I have two things I hope we can, not too bad actually. But, the waiver discussion,
Thank you.
thanks folks. So, you know, one of the issues that's come up is when people want to have the waiver of a public hearing, getting notice of that so that the chairman and the BOS rep can have time to approve it, but more importantly, disapprove it, disallow it, so that in order not to hold up the applicant, they can still do the public hearing noticing and still get on the docket for the month they intended, right? So we've been talking with Michelle about how that would work. Somebody, for instance, you know, you walk in, you say, I'm gonna be like this month, April 15th, the deadline for an application was March 25th. However, if you wanna ask for a public hearing waiver, when do we need to have that in our hands on the off chance or the chance that we say, no, it doesn't meet the criteria, so we're gonna deny it? And the office can still send out the notifications through registered mail. See what I'm saying? Does that make sense? So we were thinking a week, full calendar week or 5 business days
At least, yeah.
at least. It's, and that way it can be sent to the two of us at the very least. I personally like to share it with everybody. I just think the more eyes on this stuff, the better. And that way we can respond yes or no, and if it's a no, Michelle can still get out the registered mail on time so that they can still show up at the regular meeting to be heard and not wait a whole nother month. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I would just, and then Michelle just passed this through here, they have an actual new application that they're proposing, it's just a little more up to date, and it does clarify preliminary meeting, which is a non-binding meeting, which we just had. The planning board calls it a conceptual meeting. And then the section where it does say, where did she put it? I'm just seeing this for the first time, so. Waiver of hearing requested, and pursuant to the article which references the ordinance, you check off whether you want a waiver of public hearing. And she's got right there the actual ordinance wording, pursuant to the criteria, waiver shall only be granted when the application is not contrary to the spirit of the ordinance, does not impact any abutter, and is not visible from a public way. So that's the wording that went into the ordinance that was passed on the warrant article. We just felt it was good to have it right in the application, so it's pretty clear. And then there's a place for the two of us to sign off. They're also, what they're trying to do is streamline it, so all these applications, whether it's planning board, ZBA, they all have a similar look and feel to them, so that they can process them in the office better. So, if anybody wants to look at this and read it, I think what we have to do is, because it's a change to our procedure and regulations, that we would adopt it and vote it. And then she can go ahead and publish it. While that's going around, I'll mention I got a visit by somebody in the Shaker overlay district who was concerned about the triangle at Asby and Shaker Road, where the sign post and the watering trough is, and you drive by something all the time and you never really notice it, but I took a picture, I went out there, and two things that bothered them were the width of the entrance and exits to Asby Road seems to have grown over the years, where it's like 2 cars wide on each side.
It's very wide.
And what that's done is encroached upon the triangle itself. And so I took a picture, feel free to, I don't think there's anything you can't look at.
I won't.
Whoa.
I'll get to the, you start there and swipe right, you'll be safe. So one of the issues that happened this winter is the plow got too close and it literally took a chunk out of that maple. Now, the maple is in tough shape, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But part of the problem is if you're trying to plow the road and that's how wide the road is, can't blame the plow guy for winging it, although I'm sure he felt it, cause it's a big chunk. And likewise on the other side, stuff is just piled right up almost to the top of the watering trough. I mean, there's no grass left, there's nothing there. So I said I would bring it up to the board tonight. I did talk to Ken about it. Ken is gonna go talk to John about it. And so, maybe the suggestion is we bring that triangle back to its former self, which would shrink the on-ramp and off-ramp to Asby Road. Might help slow people down.
Well, how would that be done?
Well, that would be up to the maintenance crew to do, and I thought, Ken said that if that's something that they can do, they'd be willing to put the equipment in, get loan there. And I thought maybe the garden club would be willing to maybe spruce it back up with some grass seeding and just raking out and whatever.
Granite curbing to deflect the
I
plows.
think some granite curving sounds great.
It's only $800 a stick.
Yeah,
I'm sure the garden club can fundraise for it.
I don't know,
Granite curbing.
I don't know that I go that far. I get that it would protect things.
That truck
And
was-
define it.
Steel bollards?
Paint them bright
Get
yellow.
those big concrete
Yep,
blocks
yellow. Yellow?
from,
Just move some
Jersey
bollards
tabs
across
over
the
there.
road.
Jersey.
Yeah. So, I thought I'd bring it up here, throw it out there, take input.
Pass that back.
So Ken seemed pretty open to having something done. And, may not happen tomorrow, but if it could happen before next winter,
Yeah,
it would help. And certainly, it doesn't look like it used to look as far as the amount of pictures you see that have been taken of that spot with the signpost and the
Why
trough.
do you put the erosion, it's just erosion, do you think?
I think just in grading the roads, they've just kind of
That
cracked and
maple
cracked
is
and cracked.
stuffed, that doesn't look very good at all.
Yeah, I can almost put my
Yeah, I was
fist
gonna
through
say,
half
you
of
might
it.
as well apply to take it down, whose is it?
He wasn't sure whether it's probably town property. The state has the maintenance rights to Shaker, but I think the triangle, it's not like on 132.
If we just widen it, somebody will hit it with their car when they take the corner fence.
Well, that's happened farther up the road, but
We'll handle it so.
any thoughts, ideas, whatever's,
Yeah, that's fine.
seemed like a good idea to
Yeah,
pursue it with Ken. Okay,
Do we need to finish up on
so
that?
so everybody's had a chance to see this?
Yep, looks good to me.
Look good to everybody, so I'll take a motion that we accept the new revised application as submitted by Michelle. And second by Ted, all in favor?
Aye.
So we'll give that to Michelle and. Any other business anybody has? Thoughts, concerns, ready to go home?
Next Thursday, land use.
Oh,
I think just you're required, but everybody's welcome.
I'll take one for the team.
It's just all the land use boards are getting together to kind of go over the
Doing that
hiccups.
twice a year now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is sort of, I don't know how it'll go the first time, but the intent is to kind of go over any zoning changes, planning changes, sort of hiccups we found last year, how we can improve them, then get back together in the fall for potential warrant articles, sort of that kind of stuff. That any of the boards see, little powwow.
next Thursday,
Thursday, 7:00.
7:00.
7:00.
Oh,
Where is that?
right here.
Right here.
So if you got nothing going on Thursday, I mean,
Ay, ay, ay.
Oh. Oh, it's already in my calendar, how did that happen? Subscribe to town events.
you made the mistake.
I'm obviously going to be here.
Looks like the tree across the road from my house.
Yeah,
Oh,
look like Sam's tree, actually.
Yeah.
Alright, well, no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.